Instead, what I want to do is talk about spanking. Because I believe that children certainly are being raised too soft. I myself was not spanked. My father never, ever hit me in his entire life. So far as never. I was raised in a rough way, but it was verbal, mental. He kept me in line verbally and mentally, but he never spanked me. But there's an article out today from a child psychiatrist which says spanking ups risk of mental disorders, which I don't agree with, incidentally. And they ask the question, which was just published, which is, as a child, how often were you ever pushed, grabbed, shoved, slapped, or hit by your parents or any adult living in your house? Spanking or physical punishment for disciplinary purposes is often described as controversial. Yet some ethnic groups and some people from the old school believe sparing the rod could lead to spoiling the child. Do you know that some ethnic groups actually pride themselves on spanking and hitting their child? Did you know that physical punishment, now this is according to this article, don't blame me, physical punishment is more culturally acceptable in some African, Middle Eastern, and Asian households. And in some Asian schools in particular, corporal punishment has been described to be deeply ingrained in Confucian culture. Compared with being white, black individuals had increased odds of harsh physical punishment, whereas Asian, Native Hawaiian, and other Pacific Islander respondents had decreased odds of experiencing harsh physical punishment. So they say that there's a greater risk of developing mental health problems in the absence of child maltreatment. But if you got spanked, you're liable to be physically hurt by it. I certainly take my hat off to those who discipline their children without hitting them. I'm not so sure that anger is the answer, though. I don't see how you can be a parent without getting angry at some point. There's no question that children today are soft and coddled and could certainly benefit from tougher parenting. But getting tougher or disciplined doesn't need to include getting spanked or paddled, in my opinion. I didn't get hit by my father, even though he was from the old world. I got verbally tongue-lashed constantly, and I can't say that I enjoyed it. In fact, I hated it. In fact, I still have scars from it to this day, but so what? So what? Look at African cultures in Africa. Look at the boys who have physical scars in their bodies from various rituals they had to go through in order to prove they were a man. So in my case, my father gave me mental scars for me to become a tough man. People would say he was overly harsh. It's hard to say. I didn't raise my children that way, although I'm sure I missed the mark from their point of view. We don't understand that children cannot be let to do everything they want to do. Doesn't mean you hit them, but you have to control them. Children are fundamentally like wild animals. And they need, don't you? You don't know that? I mean, that's the first thing you do is teach a child, not to mess the floor, go to the potty. It's called potty training. Liberals, you'd have trouble with potty training. They think that they're damaging the child by telling him not to do it in the road. And now look around the society. These are undisciplined, millions of undisciplined children running around with iPhones. All they want to do is have sex, drugs, and rock and roll, day and night. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. They think that explains the reason for human evolution. So what I'm saying is, where is the discipline? How are you disciplined? And it's a great topic. And we're talking about the undisciplined opinion of Justice Roberts, how like a spoiled, traitorous child, he turned on the conservative people of the United States of America who counted on him to stop this socialized medicine juggernaut. Unfortunately, he turned coat on us and stabbed us all in the back, and now he is loved, revered, lionized, and otherwise held up as a role model for every other conservative who has finally seen the light, which is to go communist and introduce as quickly as possible a Castro-like government in the United States of America. I'm convinced Robert would take your guns away from you, given the chance for more accolades. So what do you want to talk about? You want to talk about discipline? Weak. His statements are weak. They're mush. No thought, no mental discipline. My father used to yell at me if I didn't tell the truth about something. He would say to me, he would demand the truth. Now, I can't say I'm truthful to everybody. I would be lying to you if I said that. Who's truthful to everybody? What, are you, an idiot? But I'm saying to you, by and large, he made me he made me answer him, and he made me answer as truthfully as I knew. He would say, no, not that, I want the answer. Or he'd make me, if I'd ask him a question, he'd say to me, you figure it out. I don't know how to figure it out. I couldn't think. I didn't know how to think as a kid. Children don't know how to think. Don't you understand that? They're like emotional creatures. He taught me how to think. He would show me A to B to C to D. He taught me Aristotelian logic. He was not a college-educated man, but he was smart. So, smart guy. So he taught me how to think. That's the greatest gift you can give a child. And unfortunately, you have tens of millions of people in America who cannot think. They are taught not to think in school. They are taught to regurgitate the party line. So how were you disciplined? Who is the most disciplined caller on the show today? Who got disciplined the worst? Anyone up there? Huh? Frank in New York, WOR. Go ahead. You'll lead the parade. How were you disciplined?
Dr. Savage, I'd like to tell you a story, give you the background of my life that highlights...
All right, hold on. It's already too much. You have no discipline. Come on, Frank, cut it short.
My father disciplined us when we were kids.
But how?
Harshly.
How?
And, well, he hit us with the belt.
Belt?
He hit us with the belt, with the hand, but...
Wait, hold on. I'm not going to make... Now, I want to ask you something, and it's not meant to deride your ethnic group. Are you Italian?
Very Italian, yes, sir.
Because for some reason, Italians of that generation were into the belt.
But can I tell you the integrity of my father, though?
Sure.
When I was very young and I didn't understand him, he said to me, he said, Frank, I realized that what I'm doing in anger and not in love. I didn't understand what the hell that meant. So he said, I swear to God, I'm never going to hit you again. But he was still a very angry man. Now,
I don't understand. Did he stop hitting you after that, or he kept hitting you anyway?
He stopped hitting me because he realized that he was doing it while he was losing his temper and not doing it in a composed manner for my own. All right, let's say...
the bottom line is this. You were beaten with a belt and it made you a better person. What did your mother say? What did your mother say when he said, I'm going to belt you one?
Well, my mother was crazy, too, so she sort of enjoyed it.
Oh, come on. What, she joined in? She hit you with a mortadella?
My mother used to beat me with a soap dish. She used to chase me through the house.
Oh, a mild beating. That was very compassionate, very maternal of her.
Well,
very maternalistic. You had a hell of an upbringing. What did you become? Are you an enforcer for one of the Gambino? I mean, what do you do in New York?
I'm a landlord who owns property. I also have a full-time job.
Yeah, I can just imagine. Frank, come on, seriously. But you didn't raise your children with a belt, did you?
No. I'm trying to get to the part of the story where it highlights the necessity between me and my brothers and my sisters. I went to live with my father when I was 15 years old because of differences with my mother. Now, my brother and my sister stayed with my mother. Now, this also highlights the horror of divorce because my mother and my father had such bad blood between them, and my mother didn't want to, quote-unquote, lose another child to my father. She stopped disciplining at all. Whatever these kids wanted, they got, no matter what they did.
And how did they wind up, the undisciplined siblings?
My brother sits at home smoking pot all day. My sister can't get along with any man, and she's living right probably next to you somewhere in San Francisco.
I can just imagine. I think she just cut me off on a highway here.
It's probably true.
I had a bigger, faster car. I mean, it was shocking. It was like your sister, that type. She had a vendetta to pass me, crazy, coming down Bay Street when no one passes. She hated me because I had a bigger, faster, more beautiful car. One of those. She went in the opposite lane to try and cut me off. I wouldn't let her.
Good. She needs.
No. That's what the V12 is for. I'm not going to let her cut me off. So I sped up. She got stuck out there. Then she speeds around me on the right lane, and then disappears and makes a sharp right to get away. You know what? A lot of people who do that on the highway, road rage. You know what they do, Frank? This is a little off the topic. Have you ever noticed they realized they were crazy and then they jut away, realizing that they were just nuts?
And they won't make eye contact with you.
No, it was shocking. I looked in the mirror. There was like a crazy woman barreling down in a Honda. If she was in a Prius with an Obama sticker, I could understand it. It wasn't even a Prius with an Obama sticker. It was a lunatic, probably worked for the city, probably the DA herself. Frank, thanks for the call. I have no idea what the point was, but I appreciate it. Well, he was disciplined, and he turned out well. His siblings were not disciplined with a stick or a belt in their potheads. Okay, that's good. Look, let's not lose sight of the story. It appeared in the local newspaper today. Spanking ups risk of mental disorders. Now, I never spanked my children, but they did a study. As a child, how often would you ever push, grab, shove, slapped, or hit by your parents or any adult living in your house? Here it's called child abuse. But in certain households, particularly ethnic households of certain kinds, they use physical punishment regularly. For better or for worse. Culturally acceptable. Asian, Middle Eastern, African. Corporal punishment described as deeply ingrained in Confucian culture. Caning used in Singapore. So the question is, how do you provide healthy limits and such on children without hurting them? How do you shape their behavior? How do you shape their behavior when they're running around with an iPhone and they're all id, to use a Freudian phrase that is lost on the masses today? The child today has no superego. It's all id. It's impulse. If it feels good, do it. All they want to do is get stoned or drunk and have sex. You say not a bad idea, but it's not a joke. That's why we have so many tens of millions of people who are ignoramuses. They come out of college. I went to college. They can't add. They cannot write cursively. They can't do anything, and yet they get mad when they take their first job because it's a lowly job. It's all they're fit for. And so, therefore, it's all based upon the fact that we have a permissive culture. As you know, China is still a very, very highly disciplined society, and look how well they're doing. Take a look at what we're teaching our children today. A local high school in Marin County just spent millions of dollars not to build a new computer lab, not to build the most advanced science laboratories, but to build a theater so more of the jerks could put on tights and be thespians. That gives you some idea of the mental thinking here in the San Francisco Bay Area, that the child should be an actor, run around in tights. Nothing wrong with being an actor, but a society can only use so many actors, right? There's only so many actors that you can use. Where are we supposed to get all of the trained, technically advanced, scientifically knowledgeable individuals? I guess we can bring them in from India and China and give them B-1B visas. Huh? Is that what you want? A nation of imbeciles. So, is discipline related to imbecility, or a lack of discipline related to imbecility? That is the question. It really turns around on that question. Is discipline related to social imbecility, or the lack of discipline related to social imbecility? That is the question. You know, it's interesting. Spare the rod and spoil the child. I never used the rod because I didn't want to traumatize my children. They don't like me anyway. So you see, you can't win anyway. They still have. Here's the thing you got to understand as a parent: no matter what you do, they're not going to like you. Simple shot. It's a simple theorem. No matter how you raise the child, at least 1 out of 2 is not going to like you. If you're lucky, it's 1 out of 2. They'll say you were this, you were that, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you looked at me the wrong way, you weren't there at the soccer game, and I needed you at that particular second. You may have been in the hospital, but they only see that you weren't at the soccer game because they think you're God, you're all-knowing, and that you should be able to, take care of their every emotional need. That's the way it is. Parents are gods to children, and as gods, we fail them. Just as God fails us. I know now we're shifting into the theology. Just as God fails man, because man wants more from God than he's able to give each of us, parents will fail children. So you can't take it personally. You have to understand that you're not going to be a perfect parent. And the parent who tries too hard to be the child's friend is really not doing that child a favor. I don't say be their enemy, but you got to be a parent. I don't go for the man running around with the shorts and the ball 24/7 where he's his son's best friend. The son needs a father. He has friends from school. Try not to be his best friend. Try to be his father. That's harder. It's much harder to be his father than it is to be his best friend. And that's why so many men today think that just playing ball with the kid is enough. I'm not saying it's bad. It's a nice thing to do. But then they need you to discipline them. The homework, whatever, okay? It's a hard job. The hardest job on earth is being a father. The second hardest, well, I would say it's as hard as being a mother. I don't know. The mother has it much harder. I think the mother today has it much harder than the father. Traditionally, it's been true anyway. The women bear more pain than men do. You gotta have pity for women. I know they don't want to hear it, but truthfully, the woman bears so much pain. And all you got to do is look at the biology of it. I mean, giving birth has to be one of the most painful experiences a human being can go through. And yet women do it. Women can handle it. Men could probably not handle that level of pain. Women are actually made to bear that pain, believe it or not. Men couldn't handle it. It's a different sort of thing that men are made to bear than that type of physical pain. And so women are by inherent nature, they're stronger than men, which is why they outlive us. Women, the weaker sex, the kinder. It's not true. The women are tougher. Biologically, they're tougher because they have to bear children. And to bear a child requires tremendous physical strength. And that physical strength carries over into older age. Now, this is all, collateral stuff. I gotten off the track from the discipline. That's because it's Monday and no one's listening. Even though the boards are jammed, there's like 12 people listening today. Everyone's on vacation. Federal workers are all gone. As I say, the tree's falling down. Did more to shrink the workforce than Romney could ever do. I'll be right back.